Do you have beads left over from subscription boxes or hiding in your stash? Today I'm kicking off my new Bead Box Leftovers series, where I turn those extras into something beautiful. In this video, I'll be using beads from 2 past Dollar Bead Boxes to create a bead woven and a wire wrapped necklace. Let's get started! To get started working on this necklace, you'll need to figure out exactly which beads that you want to use in your project. Now this is where this can vary completely if you wanted it to. Now these are beads from the August Dollar Bead Box. I have not used this box yet, so I figured I'll end up making a cute little video out of this, and I based it off of this necklace. I made this necklace from beads from the June Dollar Bead Box that I have not used in any of my videos yet either. So I'll have the supplies for this necklace down in the description. The supply list that you just saw are going to be the supplies for this guy here. So just like I had talked about at the very beginning of the video, you can use absolutely any type of beads that you want to. You can go through your stash and you can figure out which ones that you want to use as far as like which ones you want to put on the links, and then which size beads that you want to use in between. This is completely up to you. So this is just a guide that you can go by and then let your imagination flow. Pick your colors and let it go. Alright, so what we're going to start off with is I'm going to show you how to make these little links. These are going to be our beaded portion, our bead woven portion of it. So they are CRAW units, or cubic right angle weave. So if you're not familiar with a CRAW unit, I do have a couple of other videos that I'll have linked down in the description that you can go back and watch those sections as well. I'm going to go through this section when I will show you how to do the CRAW unit. I'm going to go through that pretty quickly. So if you need some refreshers and or if you're not familiar with it, then you can go back and look at those other 2 videos, and then that'll give you some more information on how to do the CRAW unit. So right now I have all my 4mm beads already sitting out. I have the crystal half golds that are going to be on either side of my flower. I've got the cube beads that's going to be on either side of the leaves, so they're both here and here. These are the 4mm fire polish and the matte turquoise. And then these guys on either side of the melons are going to be the smaller melons, the 4mm melons. Now the gold ones over here, this is where it also varies as well. This is just extra to see how long you want to make your necklace. Now this part you can completely leave out if you wanted to. You can use chain if you want to instead. So it's completely up to you. So I decided to do 3 on either side, so I'll do 3 sets on one side and 3 sets for the other. So you're going to end up making a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 sets of your cubic right angle weave components. So meet me back in just a moment with just your 11/0s and your 8/0s, some thread. You'll need Wildfire 0.006 is what I'm using in the green today. I have a size 11 needle. You can use a size 12 as well because we'll be going through these beads quite a bit. Each one of these little units is going to be about 2 feet of thread, so they do take up a lot of thread. And you are going to be using a whole lot of beads. This is how many beads I have left over in my tube that I started off that was completely full at the beginning of my project. So just to give you a heads up on that. So meet me back in just a second with your seed beads out, your thread, and then your first 2 sets of beads. So we're going to be using these 2 right here, one of each of these. And I will show you how to do your CRAW unit. To get started with your CRAW unit, we'll have our length of thread, whatever you're comfortable with, on your needle. We'll need to start off with 12 11/0s, so pick up 12 of these. 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3. Now the cube itself, because it is a cubic right angle weave, our cube is going to be sets of 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and then 2 on the sides. I'll show you this real quick up close. So you have 3 seed beads on the bottom, 3 beads on the side, on the top, you have 2 seed beads on the side and 2 beads on that side. So that's going to be what is going to be our cube itself. To start off, we're going to do the bottom though, so we need to pick up 12 of our seed beads, bring it down to where you have about 3 to 4 inches of thread left over. This is how I measure my thread. I hold the beads right about where it's comfortable for me to hold it, and then I put the extra thread all the way down past my watch. That just kind of gives me an idea of that's a good length in order to be able to add some beads at the end. So we're going to go back through the first 3 beads to make ourselves a circle. Now before we continue on with the CRAW unit, we're going to go ahead and add our first bead that's going to be our decoration on the inside. So pick up whichever one. I'm going to pick up the gold, the half gold and crystal one first. So I'm coming out of this seed bead here, which is going to be the top portion. You've got the 3 over here off to this side, the 3 over here that's going to be on the bottom portion of this square, and the 3 over here off to the left. I'm going to go through the 3 that are on the left of the square that we're making right now. And then I'm going to proceed back through the 3 that are going across the top. So my needle is going to end up in the same spot where it was when we began this part. Just make sure that your 4mm stays on top, so it sits like that. Alright, so now we need to start building our sides. So our sides are going to be 2 for the side, 3 for the top, and 2 for the side. We're coming out of this bead right here. Whoops, focus. So we're going to go back through that same 3 beads to create this side of the cube. Once we're done with that, we're going to pass through the next 3 seed beads that are on the right hand side of the square. Now we need to make this side of the cube. So we need 2 for the side and 3 for the top. Now we're going to continue through the 2 that were for this other side right here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go on through the 3 on the bottom. And when you pull this down, whoops, without creating a knot, there is your side. So you have your 2 right here on the side, you have your 3 on your top, and your 2 on the side, and your 3 on the bottom. So go ahead and continue through the next 3 that are on the bottom down here. We need to put on another side of our cube. So 2 for the side, 3 for the top, just like that. Then you want to go through the 2 that are on this side, and if you want to, you can go ahead and proceed through the 3 on the bottom. When you pull all of this together, that puts everything like that, just like the previous side. And then this last side, continue through the last 3 beads on the bottom, and you already have your 2 sides sitting there, so go ahead and go through the 2 beads that are on the left hand side here, and all we have to do is add our top. So add 3 beads for the top, and then we're going to go down the 2 beads on the right for that right side. Now we need to get back up here to connect the top. So go back through the 3 beads on the bottom, the 2 beads on the left, and then I'm just turning my cube from here on over like that, and then I'm going to proceed through the 3 beads on the left side of this square, which is the top part of our cube. Then I'm going to go through the 3 beads along the top of this square, the 3 beads along the right hand side, 3 beads along the bottom side, and to make sure everything's connected, you go back through the 3 beads on the left one more time. Now we're set up to add our second unit. So now you have everything looking like this. And I'm just turning it because that's where my thread's coming out of right now. So that way this looks like the same way when we first added our first 12 seed beads. So now we're going to do basically the same thing. So pick up whatever your next one is that you're going to be adding, We're going to go through the 3 beads on the left, continue through the 3 beads along the top of this square, and then now we start beginning to create our walls of our cube. So 2 beads for the side, 3 for the top, 2 beads for the next side. So the first part that you're adding your cube, you're always adding 3 sides. The second part you add 2 sides, the third part you add 2 sides, and the last part you add 1 side. Continue on through your next 3 seed beads on the bottom. Pick up 2 for the side, 3 for the top. You already have your other side over here, so go through your side and your bottom. Continue through the 3 on this bottom portion of this part. 2 for the side, 3 for the top again. Go through those 2 on the side, 3 on the bottom. Continue on through the 3 on this side of the cube. Go up the left-hand side of this face of the cube. Trying to figure out the best way of saying the different sides of the cube. Pick up your 3 beads for the top. Then go back down the right-hand side of the cube. Continue through the bottom. Go up the left side, the 2 beads there. Now we're turning our bead to the top again, and we're going to connect the 4 sides of this square on the top of the cube. So go through the left, go through the top, go through the right side, continue through the bottom of this part of the square, and then end up going through the left-hand side one more time. Now we're set up to where we're going to add our little peaks to our little unit. To do that, we're going to pick up 2 11s, an 8, and 2 11s. I'm going to hold it like this again, so that way our thread is starting off in the same direction that we've been starting on. So it's coming out here off the right. We're going to go round through this, so go from the left to the right of those three beads. It's going to put the beads on like in that fashion. Go through the beads that are on the right hand side of this square, go through the beads at the bottom of the square, pick up 2 more 11s, then we're going to go back through this 8-0 that's here at the top. We're going to go from the left to the right because we're on the left hand side of the square, so we're going to go from the left to the right, and then that's going to put our beads on like that. Put on 2 more 11-0s, and then proceed back through the 3 beads that were on the bottom of the square that we originally started off with. Now we're just going to reinforce this part, so we're going to go back through the 2 beads that are here, that are sitting up as kind of like a peak up to the 8-0. So go through those 2 beads, go down the next 2 beads, and then following our thread path, I just twisted the cube in my hands, and I'm just going through the next 3 seed beads there on the side. Twisting it in my hands again, I'm going to go up the next 2 seed beads, which were on the other side of the 8-0 now. We're going to go down the 2 seed beads to the side of that, twisting one more time, proceed through the 3 beads here on this side. This is where we're going to go ahead and tie off. So pick up a bridge thread, or go underneath the bridge thread, whichever way you want to say that. Make yourself a little loop, go through that loop with your needle, and then pull it down until it gets down to your product, making sure it stays in between beads and not over some beads. You don't want it to loop over a bead. Then I proceed through that side, so go through the 2 seed beads that are sitting there. I'm going to put 1 more knot sitting here, doing the same thing, go underneath some bridge threads, making sure that the knot stays that way. And then I'm just going to proceed through these 3 seed beads here. And this is where you would burn off. And then I need to change my battery in my thread burner. It's getting low. I've been using it a lot lately, making all these different cubes. Then take your thread burner and make yourself a little knot with your thread. Now this is why in the description, and if you didn't notice, I have a second needle sitting out. I'm going to put the needle on this end of the cube, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side of the cube that I did over here. So if you need a refresher, you can always rewind if you like, but that's all you need to do is just add this on here, and then you go back through. You'll be starting off right here. You'll add your 2 11-ohs, your 8-0 to 11-ohs, go back through these 3 beads here, proceed through this side, go through the bottom side of the square, add 2 11-ohs, go through that 8-0, add 2 11-ohs, continue through the bottom, and then that's when you would reinforce, where you go back through the 2 sides, go through the bottom, go through the 2 sides, through the bottom, and then you tie off and you're done. So go ahead and make all your different mounts that you need for the necklace that you would prefer, and then meet me back and I will show you how to do the different links for all the different extra beads that we're going to use. To get started on your links, you're going to need to get your craft wire out. Today I'm going to be using the Soft Flex craft wire. It's going to be the cold color today, and I'm using the 22 gauge craft wire. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything that is on the spool itself, and I'm just going to string on, and then I'll show you how to cut off and everything. I use a lot less wire if doing it in that fashion. So most of my links I've already created, like I said. I'm going to show you how to do the extra one of this one, and then I'm going to show you how to do the center, the focal one here. Now the focal ones are going to be very similar in the way that I'm going to do the loops on this one is going to be very similar for your leaves. And then the one that I do over here for this extra link is going to be similar for this one and for this one. So hopefully you'll get an idea of what to do. I'm going to go ahead and get some of my wire off. And then, like I said, I'm going to leave it on the spool just like that. I just put the little shield back on there. And see how kind of wonky the wire looks right now? That's normal. All you have to do is you can use your fingers, or you can use a nylon jaw pliers and just rub your wire in between the pliers, just like this. It kind of helps to warm up the wire and also helps to get out all the kinks. And I do this by turning the wire over a couple of times and do this in different directions. I usually do it about 4 to 6 times. Sometimes a little bit more depending on how many kinks there are. And then you can kind of run your fingers along it and everything and make sure that most of the kinks are out. So the first one I'm going to show you how to do is going to be this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and string on all my beads first. So I'm going to show you how to do the flower second. So I'm going to put the flower on first, and then I'm going to do this combination, where this is the, what are they, 8mm acid etched druck in pastel green, and then this is one of the 3mm beads that I ended up getting, and that color is, I think, the light smoky topaz, if I can remember correctly, but that's one of the 3mm that I got in the Dollar Bead bag. And then we'll put one of the other drucks on this side. So you want to go down about 2 inches or so from the top of your wire. So around 2 inches, doesn't have to be exact. I usually leave myself a little extra, sometimes 2 to 3 inches, just because I don't know exactly how many loops I'm going to end up doing. Then you just push your wire over your pliers just like that. Ends up making a little 90-degree angle, or 90-degree-ish angle. That didn't look very 90-degree, but it's close. Now this is how I measure where I do my loops, to keep my loops as accurate and looking similar throughout the project. I line my round nose pliers, the left-hand side of the pliers over here, up to the left-hand side of the bead, as close as I want to it. And that's where I'm going to make my loop for this bead, and it's also going to be the loop on the other end of here. It's also the loop that I made over here off these beads. also the loops that I did over here on this side. I just used these beads as a gauge, but these are going to be very similar in size of these. So our loops are going to be very, very similar. Alright, to continue your loop, you need to move your wire from the back, move it up over that top jaw until it touches down here on the bottom. Loosen up your jaws, open them. Now you want to twist it to where your bottom jaw is now, or your top jaw is now your bottom jaw. Then you want to take your wire, your small piece, and continue the loop all the way to the back, like that. When you do that, you let go. Now you have a nice little loop. Now usually what I do on this, I grab one of my chain nose pliers. Sometimes I use a flat nose pliers if it's wide enough, but I'll use the chain nose and I'll hold on to it. Then you take the small piece of wire and you wrap around the longer piece, and we're going to make 3 loops. So just do this slowly if you're not used to it. Just make sure you go through your 3, or go around your wire and you're not overlapping any of your loops. If you're overlapping anything, then that's fine. Just take it back off and then just try to get it and do it again. If it's not working, this is the perfect time to just cut off and do the process one more time until you're happy with it. Now we're going to cut off that excess flush side towards the product itself of your wires, your wire cutters. Then I'm going to put that off to the side. Then I'm going to using my chain nose to tuck in that little spot that we just cut off, just to make sure it's not going to stick out and poke anybody's skin and or start snagging clothes and stuff like that, depending on if you're making it into a necklace like I am, or if you're making it into a bracelet. So now we're going to move all of our beads up to the end up here, and then I'm going to cut off this part from the rest of the spool. So I'm holding it up like this. I usually do anywhere between 3 lengths of finger widths all the way to 4. I ended up just doing 4 this time, just to make sure I had plenty of room to be able to wrap around. So I did the flush side again, because here's the flush side of my pliers. I'm holding them upside down, flush side towards the project, and then I put that off to the side. So now we're going to do this for the flower. This portion I'm going to do a little bit faster. So about 2 to 3 inches from the top, push over the pliers, and my wire is kind of sitting off to the side in a wonky way, so it's kind of hard to hold on to it. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to push my bead back up. Now, where do you want to put your round nose pliers for your flower? You could still do the same thing, move it all the way over here to where it's a much larger loop if you wanted to do that, so where your pliers are lined up with the left hand side of the bead. You could do that if you wanted to, but to keep everything about the same, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the lines of the flowers. So if you see that they're on the flower here, you've got the center, and then you have little lines that are coming out of the center. Some of these lines have just straight lines, other lines have a little dot at the end. So you see the straight line that's going in line with the whole of the bead. Then you have the one over here off to the left, has a little dot. The one right next to it is just a straight line again. Then the one next to that straight line has a dot at the end again. So I'm going to use the straight line one over here as my guide. So I'm going to put my pliers up to that part of the bead, and then that's where I'm going to make my loop. Wrap over, continue on, and then there's that part. And then grab your chain nose, move everything to the side a little bit so it's a little easier to wrap. And then we're going to wrap around the neck of this. We're going to do this 3 times again. One loop is a little bit loose, so I'm going to leave it there and show you how you can fix it. Cutting off flush side towards the product. Now before I tuck everything in, what I'm going to do with my chain nose is I'm going to squish them together, squish my loops together. because if you noticed here on the back side of the loop, it's a little further apart than what I would like. So that's how you can fix that. Now I'm going to squish this little portion in, again, just like we did on the other bead. Once you're happy with that, move your bead back up to the top, get your 3 or 4 lengths worth of your wire, flush side towards your product, and cut off. Now we're done with the wire once you get everything cut off. Now it's time to make the loop on this side. So we'll go ahead and start off with the flower. I'm going to make sure that my loops are going in the same direction. So we want to make sure that our loop down here on the bottom is not facing us. So that's not facing us. The loops are facing us when you can actually see the loop like that. So we want to make sure that our loops are not facing us, so they're perpendicular to our viewing. And if it ends up being not correct, then you can always fix it later. And then I'm lining up the pliers just like I did with the round nose up here to the side where that little portion is at on the flower. Pushing it over, grabbing the round nose, putting those back in that same spot, and then going up over, and then completing this around. Now sometimes, depending on the shape of the bead, the type of the bead, you know, these are hand blown sometimes they're made by machines, but sometimes you're going to end up with a little extra room here at the end. Like this one looks like it might be more than three turns. This one might be a 4th turn. You can do that in a couple of different ways. You can continue to turn around, or you can have just a little bit of wiggle room right there. Just whichever one is more preferable to what you are looking for. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Cut off my excess. And then pinch down the remaining. And that happens a lot where you're trying to pinch down and it is twisting on you. So all you need to do is just try your best to try to get it, there we go, pinched in a little bit better. Sometimes if you go further down the pliers a little bit, sometimes it's a little bit easier to catch on to all of that. Now this one I'm actually going to put on top of one of these because it does have travertine in it, and I don't want to get that travertine all over my bead mat because I've been playing around with that one quite a bit. So I want to make sure that I don't get the travertine on the bead mat for that. So we're going to make the loop for this one really quick. And this is in the same way. Just line everything up like you have been. And then go up and over till it touches. Switch your jaws. Continue your loop to the back. Pick up these guys, the chain nose, and then take your small amount of wire and wrap around until you get 3 or so loops. See, this is another one that I have just a little bit of wiggle room. I'm okay with that. And then cut off your excess. Now the only other thing that you need to do with your loops before you move on, so you need to work harden them. So just take your chain nose, or you can use your flat nose for this too. Just put your loop in the middle of it and just give it a good squish. Do the same thing for the other side, and then the same thing for these. Once you get all of your loops completed, I will have on the next screen, I will have just a brief little screenshot of how I'll have everything laid out, so that way you can get everything laid out in the same way if you're following along with me, and or get an idea of what I'm going to be doing next. After that, we'll come back and I'll show you how to put it all together. Most of my necklace already strung together, or linked together, so that way you don't have to watch me do all the links itself. But I'll show you how to do a couple of them. First thing you want to do is you want to get all your jump rings, and you want to go ahead and open all of them. This would be the easiest way of doing this. You want to open all of them except for, let's see, you'll need 1, 2, 3, so except for 6 of them. So that way the 6 that you have in between your links up here at the top, and I'll show you what I mean in just a moment, those are already still closed. Those you don't have to have open. So go ahead and open up all your jump rings first. Then what you want to do is you want to pick up one of your bead woven links, and we want to go through the 8/0s of this first. If you go through the link over here first and then try to get it onto the 8/0s, sometimes it's really tough to do that. So I always like to start off first with the 8/0 itself. So just wiggle your jump ring through until it goes through, just like that. Then take whatever link is sitting next to it. Let me make sure I didn't make that upside down. Nope, okay. So pick up the link that's sitting next to it, and this is the gold, the crystal half gold color, and then this is the cube that we used on either side of the leaf down here. So I have it in the right direction that I want it to be in. And then you just close up the jump ring. And you do this for the other side also. Go ahead and pick up a jump ring, and then go through your 8/0 first. So we're still working on the same link. We're just going through the 8/0 first, and then we're picking up our next link in line, which is the other half, or the other portion that I have mostly done already. And then close that up. Now, what I was talking about with the extra links up here at the top, and the part that's going to be along the back side of the neck, so most of the time you probably won't see this part, but I felt like it needed a little extra. In between my links, I have an extra jump ring. So I linked on to the 8/0 first, linked onto this 8/0, and then put them together. So before I closed up, did whichever one first, before I closed up the second link of the 8/0, I added the jump ring in between both things, if that made sense. Anyways, that's what you do. You add your jump ring in between. So start off with the link, add your jump ring into your 8/0. It sounds like somebody is doing work on their fence somewhere. That's where all of the banging is going on outside. At least I think it's a fence. Anyways, you get it linked to your link, and then I already have the jump ring already sitting on this one, so I'm just going to go through the jump ring just like you would with any other project, and then close that off. And then choose which side is going to have your lobster clasp and which side is going to have the jump ring for the lobster. I've already got the jump ring on the other side, and I have a jump ring already attached to my lobster itself, so I'm just going to slide it through that jump ring that's on the lobster. When you close that up, then you'll have a finished necklace, if I can get it to close. Of course, the last one's going to give me trouble. So now you have a finished necklace. And that is one project, at least one idea of what you can do with beads that you have left over from other project boxes and or beads from your stash that you're not quite sure what you want to do with yet. So this is an idea. This necklace is just one example of how you can give your leftover beads a brand new life. And that's what this Bead Box Leftovers series is all about. Turning extras and stash pieces into jewelry you will love to wear. If you want to see more ideas like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a fellow beader. I've got more projects coming your way, and you won't want to miss them.